Mom and sister blamed me for stealing charity money to hide their own theft, so I cut them off. Now they want my help with their new business after 6 years. Hey, so my estranged family recently reached out to me after 6 years of no contact. I set a condition they didn't really agree with, and now I'm wondering if I'm in the wrong. For context, when I say family, I'm just talking about my mom and younger sister. I'm 28, F, and my sister is 24, F. She's always been the spoiled one and got away with everything as a kid. Our dad was kind of a disciplinarian with both of us, but my mom could never bring herself to say anything to my sister. It wasn't like my mom treated me badly, but it was obvious who her favorite was. In my second year of college, my dad passed away suddenly from an aneurysm. It was a tough time for us as a family, but we tried to stick together. My sister was only 16 then, and it was clear she was really shaken up by it. She started acting out in strange ways, so we got her to see a psychiatrist because something was clearly off. Our family was pretty easygoing, so we never gave her a reason to rebel. But after our dad's death, she started crossing all sorts of lines, staying out late without telling us, drinking, smoking, and even dabbling in drugs, we suspected. She got in with the wrong crowd, and my mom had to step in. My mom tried her best, cutting off my sister's pocket money and grounding her. But none of it worked until my mom threatened to call the cops on her friends. Pot wasn't decriminalized in our state, so they could get into serious trouble. That scare finally got my sister to quit her bad habits and ditch those friends. My mom made sure she started hanging out with her old friends to get back on track for the future. The last time I saw my family in person was 6 years ago. I went home for a few days, and my sister's high. Chul was hosting a bake sale for charity. My mom basically forced my sister to take part, and she ended up on the planning committee. My mom and I also baked a bunch of cookies and set up a stall to support her. I thought I was doing a good thing. After the event, I had plans to go out with some friends for a movie, so I left quickly. My mom and sister stayed behind at the school. When I got back home, everything seemed normal. I went back to college the next day, but soon noticed a bunch of high school people unfollowing me on Instagram. I was confused because I hadn't had issues with these people. After a couple of days, I asked one of them why they unfollowed me. They replied, saying I should be glad no one had blocked me yet, which made no sense to me. I tried to get more information, but they didn't respond. So I reached out to some high school friends who were still in touch, but they didn't know anything either. Finally, I decided to speak to my mom. Almost a month had passed since the bake sale, and when I told her what was happening, she came clean. Apparently, my sister, who had stayed back to count the money, had swiped almost $2,000. People noticed the missing money and started suspecting my sister, but my mom threw me under the bus instead to protect her. She made up a story on the spot about me being irresponsible with money due to a supposed drinking problem and said I had stolen the money and left quickly. So now I don't know if I'm in the wrong for setting my condition or if my family's reaction was justified. What do you think? All right. Here's a longer and slightly more detailed rewrite of the given text in a casual tone. So, my mom claimed she threw me under the bus to protect my sister's future, saying she had to do it because I was already at college and only came home for a few days each month. She figured it wouldn't make a big difference to me what people thought of me, but my sister still had to live with those folks. If they found out she was the one who took money meant for charity, they'd never let her live it down. My sister had to think fast and came up with a plan. She even forked out $2,000 from her own pocket on the spot to end the discussion and make sure no one found out what she did. My mom also begged everyone to keep quiet about my so-called drinking problem, hoping to protect me because I was still trying to handle it. She didn't want people to know I was so desperate I'd steal charity money, but of course, people didn't keep their mouths shut. One person in my year, who also had a sister on the committee, spread the word to everyone else. People weren't really mad about my drinking problem. They just thought it was hypocritical of me. Back in high school, I was a goody two-shoes, never smoked, drank, or did anything wrong. So when they heard I had a drinking problem and even stole to support it, they couldn't believe it. This lie my mom told to protect my sister shattered my reputation. She didn't seem to care, thinking it wouldn't matter to me since I didn't live there anymore. But it did. People who used to know me now thought I was a thief and a drunk. I could handle them thinking I was an alcoholic, but being labeled a thief because of my mom's lie was too much. I was really upset and told her she needed to tell people the truth. She refused and told me I wasn't allowed to spill the beans either, as it would ruin my sister's reputation. My sister had worked hard to get back on track, and my mom didn't want to risk her reverting to her old ways. Apparently, my sister had swiped the money because she wanted to go out with friends, and Mom wasn't giving her any spending money anymore. After they got home from the bake sale that day, my mom warned my sister that it was the last time she'd bail her out. If she messed up again, Mom wouldn't hesitate to turn her in. I guess my sister didn't expect to get caught, and that incident gave her a reality check. Whether she really turned Ed over a new leaf or not, I don't know, since I haven't been in touch with them. My mom and I had a huge argument about what should be done. I didn't like being thrown under the bus for no reason, but she believed it didn't matter because the only consequence I faced was a few random people unfollowing me on social media. In her eyes, my sister's reputation and future were more important. I was about to graduate from a great college, so my life was sorted. Mom thought the least I could do for the family was to keep quiet about it. Frustrated, I hung up and didn't speak to her for a long time. I struggled with whether or not to reveal the truth on Facebook or something, but eventually decided against it. I also decided not to contact my family until they reached out with an apology. Even on the phone, my mom never apologized. She just defended her decision. So I made up my mind to wait for an apology, and 6 years passed like that. I graduated a few months after the fight with my mom, and the only ones at my graduation were my grandparents. I'm close to my dad's parents and his side of the family since my mom's family is from Iowa, and she's not that close to them. After I told my grandparents what happened, they too cut ties with my mom and sister. My dad's side of the family eventually stopped speaking to Mom and my sister as well, since she never bothered to reach out. For the last 6 years, I've had no contact with them. I don't know what they've been up to and haven't been interested because they made it clear they didn't care about me. But about 6 days ago, my mom and sister finally reached out. They sent me an email since they didn't have my address or new phone number but found me through my unchanged email. They told me they were starting a new business. My mom, who used to be a real estate agent, and so they wanted to follow in her footsteps and start their own real estate business. They needed my money because they'd heard from a few people that I was doing really well. They weren't wrong. I'm actually doing pretty great. I'm the youngest head of a department at my company, running the entire marketing team. So yeah, I make a decent amount and could easily help them out. But after 6 years of no contact, just helping out wasn't cutting it for me. So I decided to call them at the number they gave in the email, putting forward a few conditions of my own. My mom was super excited to talk to me, which was odd, since we hadn't spoken in almost 6 years. But that didn't matter to me. I got straight to the point and told them that I'd only consider their proposal if their apology was as loud as their disrespect had been. Even in the email, all they said was they regretted what happened in the past. But there was no apology. Their regret meant zilch to me because I wanted a public apology acknowledging the lie my mom told 6 years ago to protect my sister. Only then would I think about investing in their business. I made it clear I was willing to stick to my end of the deal as long as they did theirs. I even told them I was ready to sign any paperwork or contracts needed. But this was my condition, no free handouts here. I worked my butt off to get where I am. And for the past 6 years, my mom and sister didn't care to reach out until they needed something from me. If they could be that cold and selfish, I saw no reason to be a fool. I thought I was being fair. But my mom and sister took a huge issue with what I said. They called me selfish and said I should let bygones be bygones, because unlike me, they still live in the same city and often see people from my sister's high school. They worried that if the truth came out, it would be just as bad as before, if not worse. My mom insisted it made no difference to me because I don't live there and don't have to see those people regularly, so it's different for me. Their life, according to her, would be ruined. But I told them that wasn't my problem. I felt I was being completely fair. For me, it wasn't about whose life gets ruined or whose reputation matters more. It was about the principle they lied about me, and I had to live with it for 6 long years. Honestly, it doesn't bother me as much now, but the truth has to come out sometime. Plus, they never bothered to apologize, so they can't expect me to just hand over money without something in return. Since they need my money, I can't ask for anything other than an emotional apology. I'm just trying to make a deal here. I don't see why my demand is selfish or unreasonable. You know, the fairness of everything really got to me. It took me quite a bit to actually send that email, even after my last update. Deep down, I was holding on to this faint hope that they'd reach out to me and at least apologize in person. Maybe not own up to their mistakes publicly, but at least tell me they were sorry face to face. I waited for 3 days, but then I figured I was just setting myself up for disappointment again, so I decided to just do it last night. Typing out that email was so emotionally draining because I knew it might be the last time I voluntarily reached out to them. From here on out, if they tried to contact me, I wasn't going to entertain it. Plus, there was this sense of closure finally, after 6 years. But after I hit send, I felt a huge wave of relief, and I decided it was time to fill my grandparents in on everything. I hadn't told them anything up until now, but I felt like it was the right moment. So, I called up my grandparents and gave them the whole rundown. I even mentioned how I set these conditions for my mom and sister, but ultimately decided not to get involved in any capacity. They told me they were really proud of me for being the bigger person and letting it go. They said that even if my family had apologized publicly and I got involved, deal with their business again, it wouldn't have really fixed anything. It would probably just lead to more bitterness. The only thing that could truly mend our family would be a heartfelt apology from my mom and sister, one that didn't require any incentives. And honestly, as corny as it sounds, they were right. So, I'm feeling pretty good about my decision, and glad I sought advice here. It was really helpful. A lot of you suggested that I should have just posted the truth on social media 6 years ago instead of being a doormat. But in all honesty, I didn't want to mess up my sister's future. No matter what, they're still my family, and just because they treated me poorly doesn't mean I have to do the same. I've always been a bit of a goody two-shoes, and I don't think that's going to change. Anyway, I'm just going to focus on my own life now. Update 3. So, a couple of days ago, I sent that email to my mom, and she finally replied today. She said she and my sister really wanted to meet up because there were a lot of things we needed to talk about. According to her, they hadn't been able to find me because none of our relatives would give them my address or phone number. She felt like we needed to sort things out in person. In her email, she finally apologized, saying she hadn't been thinking about me 6 years ago, or even now, really. She admitted she had been a bad mother to both me and my sister, and that if she disciplined my sister when she should have, things wouldn't have gotten so bad. Mom said she had always treated me unfairly because I was the older one and she expected me to be more understanding and help her out. She never really let me be myself. Even in the past 6 years, she wanted to reach out but was scared I wouldn't want anything to do with the family. She knows it's a weak excuse but admitted she was too scared. Honestly, her email felt really raw and genuine, so I decided to tell her where I live so they could come over and we could try to work things out. I'm not sure if it's the right move, but my gut says to give it a chance. After losing my dad suddenly, I don't want to have more regrets if something happens to my mom. If I have the chance to mend things with my family, I'm going to try. Update 4. Hey everyone. A lot of people were doubtful about my decision to invite my family over, but I explained my reasons. Now that I've met with them, I don't regret it. So, a couple of hours ago, my mom and sister came over. I invited them in, and it was super awkward at first. We made some small talk before my mom just said, "Who are we kidding?" and gave me a big hug. She was sobbing and kept apologizing over and over. My sister sat on the couch crying quietly, and of course I couldn't hold back my tears either. They both apologized for how they'd treated me over the past 6 years and said that no matter how much they apologized, they'd never be able to make it up to me. The fact that I had even invited them to clear the air meant a lot to them. My sister even thanked me for taking the fall for her all those years ago. Anyway, I wanted to see if others felt the same way. Am I the jerk for telling my mom and sister that I'll only invest if they spill the truth about being thieves? Update 1. Hey everyone, thanks for all the kind words and support. It means a lot. I've decided to follow the advice most people gave me. I'm not going to entertain my family's drama anymore, nor will I try to make them do what I wanted. You guys are right. I don't need to strike any deal with them, and I should just let it go. It doesn't matter to me anymore. I'm doing well in life honestly, better than many who believed my mom's lies. I don't need to prove anything to anyone. I know I'm not a thief, and that's enough. I guess I was just trying to hurt and humiliate them because it used to sting that even after screwing me over, they never thought it was as important to talk or apologize to me. But after reading your comments, I realized it's not worth it. Their behavior shows that my feelings don't matter to them. Only their own feelings do. They haven't apologized even now, and I was wrong to hope they'd come to their senses. So, I'm a bit disappointed and hurt, but that's fine. I've dealt with it for 6 years. I can deal with it longer. I'm going to email them saying I don't want to invest or get involved, and I wish them the best but want them to stay away from me. Update 2. Hi again? So I did it. It's been 10 days since my mom reached out, and last night I finally sent that email after arguing about my conditions. Back in the day, I chose to keep the truth under wraps, even though exposing it would have been super easy and probably more believable for everyone else. I decided not to spill the beans because I wanted to protect her, despite both of them having treated me pretty badly. They came to me saying they wanted a fresh start. To show they were serious, they insisted they didn't even need any financial help from me. They wanted me to see that I wasn't just a money source to them. They genuinely wanted to share the news about their new business. Initially, they had hoped I'd invest in it, but they soon realized they had been selfish, only thinking of themselves. I don't really know what caused them to have this change of heart, but I'm glad we had this talk. Even though we've got a long road ahead, it feels like a good start. We're going to try to stay in touch and work on fixing these broken relationships. I even chatted with my grandparents about it, and they think it's a good move too. I'm relieved I went through with it. People screw up, but those who can forgive when the time is right can really make a difference. So, I'm keeping my fingers crossed and hoping for the best. Let's see where this journey takes us.